welcome back to Stacie's Corner. I'm Stacie. I want to continue the story of the City of Bones. And where I left off, Jace and Clary just found out that Clary's mom was Valentine's wife, and the room just went silent. And all of a sudden, they both yelled, Valentine had a wife and he was married? My mother wouldn't do that, Clary said. She only had one husband, that was my father, and not an ex-husband. And she said, I was thinking that my mother's just a complete stranger to me. She's lied to me and kept secrets. And she just does not understand her anymore. And so Hodge says that your mother left the circle when she realized how Valentine was, and to the extent that he was going to go to get what he wanted. And he said a lot of us left, including Lucien, where Valentine took it the hardest because they were really close. But a lot of us stayed, myself included, and also the Lightwoods, because we were afraid of what he might do. But when the uprising was over, we went to the Clave and told them everything, all the names that were in the circle and all what he was planning on doing. But we still got punished. They put a curse on us and banned us to the Institute in New York. And Jay said, but the Lightwoods can leave. And they said, yes, that's because at the time they had a child, but they're still banned to the Institute, but they can go to the Iris on businesses only for a short time and come back. And Clary says, so Valentine wants this mortal cup to create a new army, and he said yes. And this is why we didn't like what he was doing, because he wanted to get humans, test them to see if they were strong enough, and if they were, they would drink from the cup and become one of us. And the ones that were not and could not take the trials that he was going to put them through would perish. And he thought that it was only a good thing for them to do that because we have taken care of them and protected them for over 1,000 years. And Jay said, that's ridiculous. That's totally against what we're about. We're here to protect the humanity and keep the peace. So right when that was said, Isabel comes at the door, says dinner is done, and they kind of said, well, I had a big lunch and I had my snack, so we're not hungry. And she said, I threw out the soup, I bought some Chinese food. So they said, well, I guess I could eat. And she said, you guys are bad liars. And so they head out. And Clary asked Isabel, are they really bad liars? And she said, no, they will tell you the truth. They're very honest. You just have to have the guts and the heart to take it. So they go and head to the kitchen. And in the kitchen, they're sitting down and having their dinner and talking about what they just found out about Valentine wanting the cup and what he's wanting it for. And she said, Clary says, you knew my mother, you knew that she was a shadow hunter. And he said, yeah, but when you told me that she was against all this fairy tale stuff, even though it's real, I kind of put it aside. And but when this new news came apart, I realized who she really was. And so we just need to figure it out. We're just going to give it to the Clave and the Silent Brothers to have them take care of it. And Jay said, no, we are here. We can do it. Because all the shadow hunters are busy at the courts. It's going to have to, they're going to have to put that on hold. And that's probably what Valentine wants anyway. And Hodge says, no, right now we're going to just lay low. And but then Jay says, well, no, we can do this. We can find out what's blocking Clary's mind. We can start with that. So, because maybe she has a key of letting us know where Valentine might be and holding her mother, so that we can give it to the Clave, so they know where he is, so they can find him and go and get him and find her mother and bring her back to us. And Clary say, wait a minute, do I have a say in this? I don't think I want anybody probing in my head. And Simon says, just leave her alone, you guys. she's been through enough. And Jace says, what are you still doing here? This is a place for shadow hunters and not their mundane friends. And Isabel gets up and she says, I'll take care of him. I'll take him home. So they head out. And Clary says, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. So she gets up and Jace says, you haven't eaten anything. She says, I'm just not hungry. So she steps out and in the hall, and she leans against the wall and she's so exhausted of everything, and I guess passes out. And all of a sudden a little bit later she hears her voice, or her name being called. Clary, wake up. And she wakes up and she sees Jace sitting by her on a bed, and she's like, hey, why am I here? How did I get here? And Jace said, Hodge and I found you in the hallway asleep, and we thought it would be nice to put you in one of the guest rooms and make you comfortable. And he said, but I woke you up because one of the Silent Brothers are here to talk to you. And so she said, fine, step out, I need to get dressed. So she gets up, he leaves, and she gets up and gets dressed and walks out into the hall, and her and Jace head down to the library. And in the library, it's dim and dark, and she thought Hodge was by himself at first, but all of a sudden a figure comes out of the shadows, and this figure is tall in a robe that looks like parchment, and has runes on the hems and around its neck. And it walks near her and asks, is this Jocelyn's daughter? And Clary's like, wait a minute, it's like I just said that, or I thought that, but I didn't say it or thought it. And it's because the Silent Brothers can only speak to you in your mind. So Hodge says yes, that is Clary, Jocelyn's daughter, Clary. And Jay said, you don't have to do this. And she said, well, he's here, let's get it over with. And so the Silent Brother pulls off his hood, and she sees these dark, sunken holes in his head where his eyes would be, and his mouth is stitched shut with black stitches. And he has the runes over his body, or over his face, like the shadow hunters do. And he speaks to her and he says, you need to relax and not fight this, because if you do, it will hurt, and if you relax, it will be easier on you. So he puts his hands on her side of her head and he says, relax, and she kind of tries to relax, even though her hands are clenched. And the only thing she can see is like a street with snow piled high and a hole in the ground. And Jay says, stop, and she comes to, and Hodge says, look at her hands. And her hands were bleeding because she dug her nails into her hands so much when she clenched them. And the Silent Brother said that you have such a strong block that I can't help you here. You're going to have to go to the Silent City with me. So Jay said, you don't have to do that. And Clary says, yes, I do. We got this far. I'm going to keep going. He said, okay, fine, I'll go with you. So they head out, and they're in front of the Institute waiting for a cab, I guess. But here comes the sleek black car. And Jade says, relax your mind. And when she relaxes her mind, she sees a black carriage with two black horses pulling it, and the Silent Brother sitting on top as a driver. So they get in and start heading out. And as they're heading out, and to, New York City has such bad traffic, so how they got out of traffic in parts that was really cluttered, the horses would jump in the sky and they would glide over the tops of the vehicles until they were able to land safely back on the road. And that's how they traveled to the a cemetery in New York City. And she said, nobody has buried many bodies in here for a long time. And Jay said, that's right. But that's where the Silent City is, down underneath. So they walk to the statue of an angel that talks about that's the Nephilim, which is the shadow hunters. And the silent brother takes his steel and points at the base of it, and it opens up into the ground. So they head down into the ground into the silent city, and she sees arches and doors with locks on them, and she just realizes this is where they bury their dead. And the silent brother said, yeah, you guys, the shadow hunters, when they're alive, they fight and protect us and the humans, but they also still protect us in death, because they get burned and their ashes and their bones are made into the walls of the silent city. And so they keep going, and they come into an opening where there's a spiraling area on the ground of this big room, and there's lines of silent brothers there, and a sword hanging from the ceiling. And the silent brother Jeremiah tells her to go into the center of it, right underneath the sword. And all of a sudden, all the silent brothers talk to her at once, and she said, wait a minute, you don't all have to do this at once. And they said, you don't want to fight us, let it just flow, and it won't hurt, and we'll be able to get a good reading. So she relaxed, and they slowly talk to her, and when she slowly talks, she kind of relaxes, and she has images of a street, again with snow, and then her as a child in a park looking at like fairies, and her mother snatching her away. And then all of a sudden she's in front of this building with a door that has a weird thingy on it, and it says magnificent. And then she goes and they go inside, and on the wall inside this place it says Magnus Bane. And she looks this person or this thing lifts her chin up, and all of a sudden she falls in, like she's falling, and then she's woken up back in the silent city. And the silent brothers say, you have such a block on your mind that we cannot get it off you unless we kill you, and so you need to find the one that has put it there. And she said, I don't know who has done it. And she, the silent brother said, it's kind of threaded in your mind, and you saw it. And she said, Magnus Bane? That's not even a name. And the silent brother looks at Jace, and Jace goes to her and sees that she's all bloody, because when she fell, she scraped her arm or cut it, and so he takes his steel and heals her. And they decide to get up, and when they get up, all the silent brothers leave except Jeremiah, and Jeremiah, or Jay says to the silent brother, are you going to help us? And he said, I can't help you guys. I'm only here to take you back to the surface. And he sounded like he was offended, though, like he wanted to do more, but he couldn't. And so they head up to the stairs, up the stairs, and back to the surface. And Clary wants to know if they're going to be taking the carriage back or what. And Jace looks at the carriage and he says, no, that thing makes me, it creeps me out. We're going to catch a cab. So that's all what I was able to read today. I hope you like it. Hit like, hit subscribe. I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.